All right. Ready to get started?
Yes, sir.
All right, kick it off.
Welcome back to Street Writers.
It is our 10 minutes of writing motivation, inspiration, and activation.
Yes, well, this is going to be easy because I'm just going to set up and then turn over to my good friend, our good friend, Josh Korda, who we worked with in advertising for years. Brilliant, creative art director who kept rewriting my headlines because he was a writer from the beginning. And he has left the business for better things. He's a Buddhist teacher and leader at Dharma Punks in New York. And he's written a wonderful book, and he writes articles that delve into Buddhism as well as the psychology of the mind. And he's way smarter than I am. Did I get most of it?
I think you got all of except for the part being smarter than you are. I don't know where you found that delusion.
Speaking of delusion, give us the title of your book.
Unsubscribe. Opt out of delusion, tune into the truth, or something like that. I don't remember.
Something like that.
Something that I threw out there and subsequently just wound up on the cover.
I was scared I was going to forget the full name of the book, and then you did. So that's not a good thing. It is available on Amazon and bookstores and all over the place. And we did some cool video to promote it. So
yes, we did. I mean, on top of a bridge and parks and stuff like that. And you even lost some equipment that day. I remember.
I did.
Nice.
I did.
Take a swing at this.
These are the tips, tricks, and sleight of hand to power up your pencil and percolate your brain. So, Josh, do you have a nice tip that you'd love to share with people? And how do you plow through? How do you keep going?
Well, obviously, one germane issue is what kind of writing we're doing. When we're trying to be really coherent, easy to understand, when we're trying to be very schematic, methodical, where we're very sure that we're trying to get across a message that somebody we really want them to know. It's interestingly, that's primarily left hemispheric.
Mm-hmm.
When we're writing stuff that's very metaphoric, open-ended, poetry, writing a headline as opposed to body copy. If we were doing lyrics for a song, then the metaphoric language is almost entirely right hemispheric, interestingly enough. And while both regions, both hemispheres are, we're always bilateral, but depending upon what kind of writing, there's certain times of the day and there's certain exercises that make each more feasible. For example, when we first wake up in the morning, we're far more right hemispheric, and therefore we're more capable of being free associative, and we're able to make jumps that are not very logical or not very we can write things that are essentially open-ended and can be freely interpreted. So somebody was a poet, or somebody was, if in advertising, if they had to churn out a bunch of headlines, interestingly enough, they would be better off waking up before they have a cup of coffee, before they have any of the schematic sort of left dorsolateral regions of the brain working. They would want to just start plowing out, churning out language without any stopping, without any tightening, without any in any way trying to make it sound good. They would try to just essentially vomit it out and just try to get as much as they could out on paper. And because of course headlines and poems and song lyrics, they're not necessarily trying to convey information. They're trying to get across a feeling. They're trying to get across something that creates a visceral connection with something. And that's, your right brain is far more capable of doing that. And if you were going to do that, if I was going to do that, I would try to empty my mind out and not try to carry any predetermined idea. I would literally just just churn it out.
Mm-hmm.
On the other hand, if I was having to write, if I was, God forbid, back in advertising and I had to write, body copy where I had to convey something that I really wanted people to understand, the benefits of something, the pain points, the articulate in a really clear, discernible way the value of something, or I was trying to get across an experience and have somebody really visualize exactly what I had and what I wanted to get across. Well, then I would do it in the late afternoon or late morning or afternoon. I would carry in my mind all of the most salient ideas, and then I would try to put them in an order. And then I would visualize a friend that I was talking to, because that would activate the regions, especially left ventral medial and Broca and Wernicke's regions, that really care about being coherent and understandable. But if I was writing poetry, I wouldn't visualize somebody, because I wouldn't try to make it coherent. I would just try to allow the language to express whatever the feeling was. Even if I was trying to write something like a title of a book or a title of an article, I wouldn't. That's what I would do first thing, without any. I would never allow myself to stop and edit it ever, because the moment you start editing, you switch off the free associative metaphoric parts of the brain, and then you're just in. Does this make sense? And so, I think there's different ways and strategies we have to know what we're trying to write, and then from that there's appropriate techniques and tools that we can employ. Try to remove from writing any negative associations, because the more we associate writing with something that is stressful or self-critical, or where we're comparing ourselves with other writers or anything, then what happens is avoidance coping, and it will become more and more difficult. And when we do it, we'll start feeling negative somatic, expressions in the body. It'll become more and more painful. So I tell myself, if I write a little bit of this, then I'm going to reward myself. And then I would keep the writing part as far away from the editing part as I possibly could.
Got a tip to share? Send it to streetwriters.podcast@gmail.com.
They beat us to the punch.
It's time to admire the craft or be jealous of it. Is there something you're jealous of?
Well, there's so much, because I'm one of those people that has the Kindle and just has like about 12
books open at once.
12 books open at once. And one guy I always love is W.G. Sebald, who was this great writer who I'm reading right now, a book called Austerlitz, which is just a classic in literature. And it's like one of those things where you just read a sentence and you just want to give up ever trying to write ever again. I enjoy a lot of psychology and neuropsychology, and there's still some surprisingly well-written ones, especially Descartes' Error. Antonio Damasio, great book on how much our emotions actually steer our behaviors and what we do. And he's a brilliant writer, just lovely to read. I've also been enjoying Patti Smith's books, because I'm an old punk and I just love reading her. And she's a genius writer. I mean, her book, Just Kids, is just already a classic. Like, I'm very slowly, admittedly, going through a 1,000-page book called Ducks Newburyport by I can't remember her first name, Ellman, maybe Lucy Ellman or something like that. And it's an all internal monologue of a housewife in Ohio, going on and on and on about just modern life. And it's just essentially a stream of consciousness, a la Virginia Woolf. And that just came out this year. It was shortlisted for the Booker Prize.
What writing is knocking you out? Tell us about it at anchor.fm/streetwriters/message. That's the first half of our interview with Buddhist teacher and writer Josh Korda. Come back next week for the second half.
That's it for this time out. Josh, thanks for being here. Be sure to subscribe, folks. Leave a review and connect with us at streetriders.podcast@gmail.com.
Tell your friends to listen and their friends too. Take it to the streets.
And fight to right, baby.